Hello, 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 everyone. Welcome to this version of Coffee, Tea, You and Me. Today, we got an excellent presentation for you all. We're going to share with you some concepts and some ideas that are going to be super important to your development of wonderful teams. So, when you're working with your teams and you've recruited the best people and you've done everything that you need to do to focus, it's important that you understand the ways of the beloved leader. That's what we're going to talk about today. What is a beloved leader? What are the characteristics of a beloved leader? How do you, as a member of a team or a leader of an organization or team, become the kind of leader that can benefit from all the things that a traditional beloved leader believes in? Now, as you know, I'm no social psychologist or anything, but I study a lot about the neuroscience of how we as human beings work together in organizations and groups, and how do we maximize our level of productivity, but also effectiveness with one another in everything that we do. And so it's important that you understand when you're working with people, this term beloved leader, makes a lot of sense for you to really focus on and understand how that happens and what happens when that comes about. What are the characteristics of a beloved leader? What are the core key ideas of a beloved leader? And how do we make that happen? And so I apologize for today because I'm recording this session way before the live broadcast. We're going to do the live broadcast tomorrow at the regular time, but I'm recording the session a day before because I'm going to be out of town. I'm going to be going to attending a family funeral in Tampa, so I want to make sure that I drop this recording in for everybody to benefit. Doesn't mean we're not going to answer questions. It doesn't mean we're not going to give shout outs. All that kind of good stuff is still going to happen. I want you guys to know Coffee Tea You and Me is a business friendly program. We want to make sure that entrepreneurs and business leaders who take the time to out of their busy schedule to watch this have something meaningful to embrace. Now, for those of you who haven't already downloaded the 9 steps to masterful professional relationships, which I have in the show notes for you. If you haven't already downloaded, go ahead and do that when you get a chance. I want you to make sure that you have that, your own hard copy on your own hard drive to do whatever you want to do with, use it, learn from it, whatever that is. But we're in the 9th step right now. The 9th step is about execution. And everything we've done prior to is really getting you ready to be better at executing your plan for global domination. No, I'm just joking about that. We're not talking about global domination, but we are talking about being able to maximize the control and the effectiveness that you have with the people that you get to work with on a regular, consistent basis. And working with those people is a true gift. Working with the people that magnify your business, magnify your process, your career, whatever it is that you're doing with other people, is a gift that is irreplaceable. Because when people are there and they're on fire and they're doing the things that they need to do, everything works so much better. Life is so much better. Fulfillment has the highest chance of actually coming into fruition and being a part of your life on a regular, consistent, everyday basis. And who doesn't want to walk in fulfillment? I mean, who doesn't want to be thriving always? But I'm going to give you the secret sauce, and I've been talking to you about it for months now. So we're going to be able to round up some of this and talk about a lot of it. Um, in my training on execution, one of the things we teach is the ways of the beloved leader, which we're going to talk about today. And the topic we're going to move from today is called likability, the pleasure center of all human connection. It is so vitally important that you understand how to tap into likability. And nobody knows how to do that better than the beloved leader. So I'm going to read you a couple quotes, and then I'm going to get into some of the rules associated with beloved leadership. And then we're going to talk about some of the characteristics that the beloved leader always possess. And then we're going to get into, hopefully, we have time, we're going to get into some of the things that you can do to groom yourself and to groom others to become better at becoming a beloved leader. Albert Camus, a great writer, said, "It is not your paintings I like, it's your painting." Now, when Camus wrote that quote, what he was suggesting that is doesn't matter as much as what you do, but how you do it. And how you do it matters greatly to those who have to be around you, those who have to find meaning, relevance, and significance in the things that they get to do with you and your organization. And as a leader, you have to know that that relevance is not just how it's not just getting to the end result or the goal. It's how you get to the end result or the goal that matters on a regular, consistent basis, daily, moment by moment with your people. And so I want you to think about that. Do people enjoy the journey with you? The people that you're with, are they experiencing something that is special because of your existence and how you bring whatever levels of leadership or management or supervision or connection, whatever it is that you bring to the table? Are people enjoying you? Are they having not just a productive time, but a wonderful time working with you? Samuel Butler, another writer, says justice is being allowed to do whatever I like. Injustice is whatever prevents me from doing so. So you think about that. When people working with you, they need to feel a sense of balance. They need to feel a sense of wholeness. They need to feel a sense of wellness all the way through. This whole notion that work has to be drudgery and work has to be difficult and work has to be hard and draining, you know, um, but it can be draining, it can be difficult, and it can be challenging, but it should be challenging in a good way, not challenging in a way that makes you wanna run away from it, not come back, but challenging in a way that energizes you and makes you want to, do more. It makes you wanna give more, makes you wanna lean in, makes you want to embrace the people that are around you. That's what the workplace should be like. I know that that's a rare thing and it doesn't happen often, but it doesn't happen often, and it's largely because leaders don't understand the core rules of what it takes to develop the kind of adoration that they have to develop with their people. So I'm going to give you some of these, and these are core rules. You cannot do without any of these rules, right? I'm going to share the rules with you, and then I'm going to share the characteristics with you. There are four key rules that I suggest that you understand. This is not something, can I put it? There's a lot of research that goes into a lot of things that I share with everybody, but what's important to know that I pulled out some of the things that I think are really, really incredible and really, really important for us to deal with in today's world, with the complex nature of our communities and our organizations today. And the number one thing is social responsiveness. You know that you are loved when people respond favorably to you and your ideas and your characteristics and the things that you bring to the table. You're going to know immediately. People are going to show up for you, and they're going to show up for you, and they're going to show up in a way that looks to you like respect. Let's get into that for a second. Respect means that someone or you, when you give respect to someone else, you're saying to them and to the universe that there's something special about them. There's something that you adore, and there's something that you hold in high regard about these people who you say you have a high level of respect for. And it's incredibly important as you go along the route to doing that, that you make sure that you are doing everything that you can to gather that feedback, that live feedback. How are people receiving me is the question that you always have to ask yourself. I think, how are people receiving my direction? How are people receiving my ideas and thoughts? How are people dealing with me? What is the response that they're giving me? Are they being socially responsive? And am I being socially responsive to them? It is a back and forth relationship with your audience or your team or the crowd or whatever, whoever it is you're working with. You want to be able to receive the accolades that people receive. This is why people get hooked on being on stage or in front of other people. And when they're performing and they're getting that adoration from people, it's really, really infectious. And it can be emotionally cathartic when it comes to how your people are being received, how you're receiving people and people. Now, some people you can talk about, you can see that they're so into themselves, it doesn't really matter what other people are responding to. You don't want to be that person, right? You want to be the person who's connected. You want to be the person who can really um, be with people in real time, not in the future or not in the past, but in real time right now today. Now, when you lock that down, you're going to also need to understand that when people are around you and they're working collectively on doing something. They're not just watching you perform, but they're a part of what you're doing. You're doing something together to get to some mutual goals, some mutual ideas, some mutual level of connection and fulfillment. Time is going to fly by. This is the time warp that I talk about a lot of times when we talk about when you build a connection with some people that are so great, you love just being around them, you love being in their presence, you love communicating with them, you love working with them. And when you're doing it in a wonderful way, there's a syncopation that happens, there's a synergy that happens. And it happens as individuals. Mikhail Mihaly um, wrote about this when he wrote flow state, and he understood that when he coined that phrase, when people get into flow, when you're doing something and you're doing something at a high level and you're so involved and you're so connected to it and you're so passionate about it, what happens is your brain kind of loses sense of time. You lose a sense of time. You lose a sense of what it is to be in the space, what it is to be doing the work. And it's very difficult sometimes to even extract yourself from that. You need something, an alarm or someone else to remind you to come out of flow state. But when you do that flow state, and it works well with teams that are in flow together, when you're, well, we see examples of this on the athletic fields and in performances all the time. When a team is bringing their A game and everybody's all working collectively in that same way, in that same vein, it feels so good. It feels so wonderful. You just don't want it to end. You don't want it to stop. And it's often difficult for managers and leaders that when to really remind the team that when they get going like this, you want to be able to remind people like, okay, all right, it's you only can go for 8 hours, and it's time for you to take a break and do some other things and come back to it. It's hard sometimes. So there's organizations that have literally have to lock people out of the offices on the weekends because people enjoy working together so much that that's all they want to do is be together. And that's there's some funny stories about that in corporate America. When you really enjoy being with the team, being a part of the team, it's hard to get out of flow state with each other and stay out and not come back to it because again, it's such an attractive, effective place to be. Leaders who can engineer that environment and that social environment, man, they're amazing people, and those people are people that will cause a great effect on others. Will always be a part of their lives, and even if they're not with them physically, they're basically inserted themselves into how their brain functions. And it's amazing when you can do that really well. So use it for good. Don't ever try to manipulate people, but also know that it is a characteristic of amazing leaders and the beloved leaders for sure. Number three, you have to be able to demonstrate your connection to other people. When you have mastered the rules of adoration, right? You want to make sure that um, you're contributing to people in a way that shows them the love, the care, the respect, the adoration, whatever you want back from other people, you have to be willing to give it. So want people to adore you, want people to love you, want people to believe in you, to trust you, all those things. This is the law of reciprocity at work, right? You have to be able to demonstrate that you're willing to give and you're willing to contribute to the individuals that you want to work with you because they're going to give you that back in return. They're going to give you that same love, that same kindness, that same care. They're going to give it back to you if you learn to master it. If you learn to master it at a high level and develop a level of connection and trust, I promise you, you're going to get back so much from people and you won't know how to, it won't have to be able to contain it. You won't be able to know how to contain it. And that's a problem too. But we'll get there in a little bit. Number four, in terms of the rules of adoration, I would say, is and the likability factor, right? Is to be constantly connected. There is a quality that happens around beloved leaders where they're always connected to their people, especially their key people. You know, I can't think of a better example than that of Jesus Christ and his disciples. You know, no matter what happens to you individually as a person, to have those people around you who are so connected to you constantly, um, it gives you a sense of belonging. It gives you a sense of connection, and it doesn't just happen for you; it happens for everybody around you. And so, you as a leader have to continue ways to deepen and nurture the relationships that you have with your teammates and your team, or those relationships will grow cold and stale. And that's where you may get into a point where you got resentment because you're not spending enough time with people. You're not spending enough quality time with people now. For those of you who have followed the things that I share with and teach all the time is, I learned this from Stephen Covey years ago. Um, Quality time is something that is generally found with people inside of quantity time. So the more consistently you are with people, and I'm not saying you got to meet with people daily, but I am saying, there is something to the week, something to the 7 day cycle. Of we're going to meet, we're going to have a one-to-one, we're going to have a strategy session, we're going to get together on a regular, consistent basis and talk and share and connect, right? In a genuine and caring fashion. You're going to find that people who are willing to work with you like that are people who you're going to be able to maximize what I like to call that likability factor with. And if you don't find that quality time with people, then the moments where you're going to have quality are going to be far in between. The family that gets together once a year, let's have the family get together. But the stress involved with that generally is almost like you have to reinvent the relationship because you've been out of touch for so long. So it's important for families to get together, regularly, and get to know each other and each habits and sync. Because as people do change. As people change and grow, you don't want to be a sidebar witness to that. You want to be in right there. As and it happens in businesses, happens in corporations, happens in organizations all the time. When leaders don't, effectively show up with and for their teams on a regular, consistent basis, they lose connection. And they're dialing it in, kind of like, this is the productivity level we're expecting. This is the reports we want you to drive. And then, as long as you're driving those reports, nobody literally has to talk to you. And that becomes a problem. And so you want to be the kind of leader that can connect and constantly demonstrate that connection with people. And you have to do that again through quality time. But quality time is found inside of quantity time. So make that annual meeting, make that not the annual meeting, make that those regular meetings, and make them fun and make them interesting, make them part of the connective tissue of your organization. Super, super important to do that. Now, some of you all may be wondering, how you do that. Another uh, process that I learned in training with the Covey organization was setting wildly important goals. Not just wildly important goals to the organization, but to individuals who are part of the organization. Agreeing that these are the goals that we are trying to hit, and then set up opportunities to measure those goals and to share those goals with one another and create a scoreboard that kind of shows everybody's contribution and even how others are assisting with those contributions and creating wins for the right kinds of uh, lead activity that that create the ultimate goal that you're trying to get to. There's always lead measures and lag measures, right? A lag measure is a measurement of, say, the end result. Did we get to the goal, right? But a lead measure is all the activities that are required to get you to the end result. And so if you do the lead measures first and do the lead measures well, then you're going to get to the goal, whatever the lag measure is. Or if you don't get to the goal, you're going to know why. You're going to know, what went wrong, what needs to be fixed, what needs to be tweaked, what needs to be added. And it's super, super important that you can break down the tasks that are necessary to get to the goals that you're try to get to. These are the task orientation and the way you measure the lead activities are going to be super, super important. Okay, so that's all said and done. Those are the rules of the beloved leader, right? But let's get into the characteristics of a beloved leader because before you can really identify and follow those rules, you got to understand the core characteristics of this leader that you're attempting to become or attempting to grow deeper into, right? And there are, I would say, basically eight characteristics, and we're going to kind of go through them really quickly. Number one, integrity. Integrity, or what I like to call self-trust. Every beloved leader consistently acts with honesty, transparency, and ethical behavior. Let me say that again. Every beloved leader consistently acts with honesty, transparency, and ethical behavior. There's no other way to build trust with people. You can't build trust with people you lie to. You can't build trust with people you hide important details from. You can't build trust with people when you consistently act in ethically ambiguous or compromising ways. So you have to know the rules of every game you play. You have to know, I have to understand what's really going on in every situation. There's what's written down in terms of requirements and opportunities for business and all that things, but there's also the unwritten rules that you have to understand. Nobody likes to do business and work with people that they don't like. And so you got to figure out, what their love language is. You got to figure out what drives the connections for them that make them feel good about sharing with people and make them feel good about working with other people. If you don't find that out, you just walk in like a bull in the china shop, thinking you have an understanding of everything that everybody wants and needs and should go. And they should just follow you. Guess what? You don't have integrity. That's what that really is saying to yourself, and you're not worthy of trust. Again, if you can't trust yourself and say that I'm going to be able to do that, I have the values and I understand the principles that I need to follow in order to be considered great at my thing, whatever your thing is, right? And I can be honest and transparent and ethical in how that comes out. Then you lack integrity, and people who lack integrity should not be trusted, right? They're trusted all the time because people make mistakes. They're not really looking for um, ways in which the person they leverage their trust on has been honest, transparent, or ethical. So it's very, very important. Integrity is very, very important. Self-awareness. That's the second thing. That's super. I can't even. All of these things are so important. So I just, can't- I just, but self-awareness. If you don't understand your own strengths and weaknesses, and I mean understand them to a high level, how do you make informed decisions? How do you adapt to changing circumstances? I don't think you can. In fact, I know you can't, right? So it's key to do these assessments. It's key to ask these questions. It's key to constantly get feedback. It's key to be reflective and thoughtful about how you organize yourself, your day, and your week, and your month, and your life, and looking at and taking a bird's eye view and looking at the things that you do and the impact on the things that you do on the people around you. You have to be aware because when you're aware of yourself, again, you can make informed decisions about what you can and cannot do. You can make informed decisions about, what feels good to you, feels right to you, makes sense for you. Um, and, even if you're stretching yourself into some new categories or some new ideas or some new concepts, you know what you're stretching yourself to because you know where you are. You have a baseline for what you bring to the table, what your strengths are, what your weaknesses are, and what should be done in terms of the opportunities or the threats that you need to think about, right? So important. And if you haven't done a SWOT analysis on yourself, I suggest you do it. SWOT stands for strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And if you haven't analyzed those things, and I mean really thought through them clearly, got some feedback from others on the same things that know you and have worked with you over the past, so you can get a true 360-degree perfect picture of what it is that you bring to the table, then it's much easier for you to make decisions from that point of view. It's much easier for you to adapt to whatever circumstances surround you from that point of view. Number three, this is my favorite. This is my number one thing, which is courage. Love leaders have a way of demonstrating courage by taking calculated risks, standing up for their convictions, and facing challenges head on. Enough said, right? You have to be able to take appropriate risks and calculated risks. You can't sit on the sidelines and take no risks because there's no growth behind, just doing what you've been doing, same old, over and over again. You have to stand up. You have to be able to change and move forward and grow. This is the very definition of growth, right? You got to be able to stand up for your convictions. You got to be able, what you believe in, what you think is true, you know, and don't stand for stuff that you can't believe in, that you can't. Don't put your name on it. Don't put your shoulder to the plow to do something that is going to be meaningless. Don't bring your team into something that's not going to be good for your organization. You need to fight that, and make sure that when something comes down the pike for you to do, make sure that it's something that's the right thing to do. It's a smart thing to do. When it's not, be courageous and stand up and say, you know what? I don't think this is a good thing for us to do. I don't think it's the right thing for us to do. The answer is no until you've convinced me that this makes sense because I can't see it. If you can't do that, then you're not being courageous. You're not really standing for your convictions. In fact, you may not even have any convictions. And of course, you must have convictions, because if you don't believe in anything, you'll fall for everything, right? It's very super important to have those. So you have to be able to do that, and you have to face challenges head on. People are going to challenge your conviction. They're going to challenge your values. They're going to challenge the things that you hold dear, the ideas, the concepts that you hold dear, and you have to be able to face those challenges head on. That's courage. That's being courageous. That is showing up for the things and the people and ideas and concepts that you believe in. Life is so much sweeter when there are things that you're willing to even um, put on the line. When you're willing to stand up for something or somebody, or you're willing to go toe to toe because of the care and love and respect you have for the people around you. Man, it's so much sweeter when you can identify those things and right about, oh, you mess with my people, you mess with mine. Okay, it's game on. We got to deal with this, and I'm not going to shirk this. I'm not going to run away from this. Hey, let's get into it, right? So it's super important that you know what you're willing to fight for, what you're willing to stand up for, what are you willing to stand in, right? Number four, respect. Again, I already shared with you what respect is. Respect is about adoration and is about holding somebody else in high regard for something specific that they're doing, that they've shared with you, that they've been a part of your life, or they've done, witnessed them do, in spite of their position or their background. It has nothing to do with title. It has nothing to do with, um, you know, what school they went to, or blah 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 blah. You can't respect from some. You can't when you show respect, it needs to be for something that you found connection with them, something that you have seen them do, that you adore about them, or that you hold in high regard. When you do this correctly and you show respect to people that have literally earned your respect, this fosters a positive and inclusive environment. You can't show respect to people who haven't earned it. You don't respect people just because of their title, just because they wave the flag, just because they, respect is earned. It's earned by helping you see something special in them that they've done or been a part of, or helping you see a place where they have a level of adoration for you. We already went over the rules of adoration, right? So uh, it's important that you show respect when you have it. When you respect people, it's important to show it and connect. And as a leader, vice versa, people that you're working with are going to be doing things. They're going to be doing amazing things, and you need to show up for them and show respect for them immediately. Don't hold back on any of that kind of stuff. Because that's not just the characteristic of a beloved leader, but that's something that is the characteristic of any quality person. You're not going to see somebody do something amazing and then just go, that's great. Keep it to yourself. No, you're going to applaud. You're going to cheer them on. You're going to jump up and down. You're going to do whatever you need to do to let them know that they have had a positive impact on you and your well-being and how you've experienced your life in business or whatever that is right now. Don't wait. Number 5, compassion. Goes into number 4, number 5 go together. Compassion is super important because when people have compassion for one another, they're showing empathy and they're showing that they can connect with people and they genuinely care about the well-being of others. 6 characteristics is resilience. Leaders have to face a lot of setbacks. They have to be able to bounce back. They have to maintain a positive attitude, and they have to have the kind of resilience that inspires others to persevere. People are looking at you. People are watching you. They're watching how you carry yourself. They're watching how you fit in. They're watching how you engage. And if you engage in a way that is is going to be all about failure and it's going to be all about doubt and fear and all the things, shame and blame and all those negative emotional contributions that we tend to be able to make with one another instead of having a positive and supportive uplifting attitude. Then you're adding to a level of disconnect. You're adding to a level of the thing that tears people down and makes them weaker. And that doesn't make people stronger. Fear, doubt, shame, blame, none of that stuff makes people stronger. It just makes people weaker. And the more you specialize in those things in terms of how you present your ideas, your thoughts, and your feelings, and blah, 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 the more you deal with that, the more you're going to drag other people down around you. You don't want that. You want to show resilience. You want to show courage and compassion. And when it comes to setbacks, you want to be able to understand it, accept it. It is a setback, right? But have a positive attitude and know that you have what it takes, or the team has what it takes, and you have been placed in this position for a reason, and so persevere, blow through it, keep on pushing, never stop moving forward. And that's going to be the kind of leader that everybody loves, everybody respects, everybody wants to follow, be around. That's a person that can inspire you to reach further than you can reach, or further than you believe you can reach, because they believe in you, and they believe that you've got what it takes. Number 7, beloved leaders have to be agile in their learning in terms of their willingness and openness to learn and grow. Not only do they seek feedback, but they adapt to this new information while they're continuously improving, right? Continuous improvement in a learning organization, in a learning leader, in a learning group, in a learning team. That agility is such an important thing to have in any group. Think about what happens when you don't want to learn the new thing, right? AI is out, and you could reject it if you want to, but it's not something that's going away. In fact, half of the research that I've done to update all of my old training programs, I've used AI models to come up with new ways of thinking and new ways of delivering that content. And of course, I've double checked the sources and made sure the sources are correct and the sources are sources that are legitimate sources. But it's important that you don't look at these new technologies and new ways of doing things and new ways of growing, and go, I'm gonna put my hands up to that, because some people did that when the telephone was invented. They refused to use it. And so while other people were getting speedy messages back and forth across the country to their friends and families, these people were still worried about trying to figure out how to get the mail to them. And the speed at which they could react to and be a part of anything was so much slower. Then you could just pick up the phone, make a phone call, do it. Don't be afraid of technology, because technology is something that can help you move forward faster and more effectively if you know how to use it and not abuse it. It's the question of learning what the technology is capable of and using it for its greatest capabilities, but not for the negative parts that might come along, because something negative comes along with every new growth thing that we do. So don't be afraid. Again, that's back to courage, right? You got to have that courage. You have to be courageous, and you're not going to have learning agility if you're afraid to do that. Number 8 and the last is effective communication. This probably should be one of the number one things on the list, but they don't come in any particular order. All 8 of the characteristics are critically important for the beloved leader, but you have to be an effective communicator. You know, um, Not only do you have to be able to articulate a clear vision of where you want to go, you have to listen actively and communicate openly, right? So you can't have secret levels of communication that you only have with one person or this person, that person. Open communication means open communication. Means I'm going to be able to share these thoughts and ideas with the team, with the group. Again, that's a level of transparency and a level that helps people, feel like they are part of something, they belong to it. And, not only do you articulate a clear vision, you have to listen to other people well, and listen actively, meaning put yourself into the moment when someone else is sharing ideas and thoughts or feelings with you. Put yourself into that same moment. Don't be thinking on the back, I can't believe they're talking to me again. I can't wait for this to be over. I can't wait, for the next thing. I can't believe I'm in this conversation. I don't really want to be here. Get in, jump in, both feet. Now, it's important. This is about emotional intelligence and social intelligence, right? It's important that when people are expressing their thoughts and ideas and feelings about something, that you have empathy versus sympathy in that exchange. Sympathy, especially when a person is feeling really really bad and something's not going right and they're angry or frustrated or upset and they're scared. Sympathy will drag you into that same feeling, right? Empathy will allow you to understand how they're feeling, but also give you a bridge and an anchor to help pull them out of that feeling into a better position, a better state of emotional regulation. And that's super important that you're able to do that with your team, because everything isn't always rosy. Everything isn't always great and wonderful. In fact, there might be some tragedies around every corner, right? But you have to be able to, as a leader, you have to be able to listen, actively engage, and help them to leverage some different thoughts that will help pull them into more positive and supportive concepts and ideas, right? Beloved leaders literally are pillars of strength, guidance, and inspiration for their people. They have unwavering amounts of courage, strategic brilliance, compassion, communication skills, and with all those things, they create an unbreakable bond that transcends individuals' rank and status. If you know anything about what I've shared with you in the past, if you've paid attention to what I've shared with you in the past, I encourage you all to embrace these concepts, what it takes to become a beloved leader. You want to make it a part of your life, make it a part of your inspiration, make it a part of your passion, make it a part of who you are and what you do. If you have any questions about any of that kind of stuff, put them in the chat. You never be you'd be surprised. Even I know you're looking at this as a recording and you're probably looking at this on demand. Um, put that information out there. Share what you have, what you bring to the table. Maybe somebody might need you to show up and help guide them in the right direction. If you have talents or gifts, share them. Don't be afraid to tell people, I'm great at this thing, right? When you do that, people get to set the proper expectations around you that you're going to enjoy engaging in and living up to, right? So you don't want to do that. You don't want to keep your light under a bushel, like Jesse Jackson used to say, right? You want to let your light shine, right? So it's super important that you do that as a leader and as a person, as a professional out there, because the universe needs to know how to react to you, and you need to train it to know how to react to you, right? But you can't do it if you're hiding. You can't do it if you're scared. You can't do it if you're not going to put your best foot forward. Okay, guys, I had a great time giving you the information and training that we had before. Next week, what are we talking about next week? Let me see if I can get the little idea. Ha ha ha. Next week, man, we're getting into trust. Really, how do you create and leverage trust? And it's an essential for all execution strategy. If you can't bring a level of trust to people that you're working with, you're not going to be able to be effective with them. You're really going to shoot yourself in the foot because you gotta know how to do that. So we're gonna walk about the mechanics of trust. How do you learn to trust? How do you give to trust? What is the appropriate way, the appropriate level of which to give which amount of trust where? We're gonna get into all that kind of stuff because there is a art and science to all of this. And hopefully you'll all share with me. I'll share with you next week, and we'll begin to talk through that stuff. This is Coach Powell. I'm signing out. I hope you had a great time. I know I did, and I'm out of here, guys. You all have a great weekend. I know I'm going to, even though I'm going to a funeral, we're going to have a lot of fun with family and friends and just reconnecting with people. God bless you and have a great weekend.